Let's talk a little bit more about the inner HTML of an element. Remember that the tag starts with the opening angle bracket and ends with the closing angle bracket. The H1 tag here opens with just the name H1, and then there's a closing tag that ends with the slash H1. Everything between the tags is called the inner HTML. So when we have a script that says to take the value from the swim header, remember that's a DOM object created because we have an ID of swim header, and we say get the inner HTML from it, that's getting everything between those angle brackets for the tags. So the header will end up being stored into this new variable, swim header content. Let's take a look at how that works in the code. I'm going to copy this, go ahead and put it into my function. And then just so that we can see what's in it, we're going to alert the swim header content, that new variable that I created and stored what was in the inner HTML of swim header. I'll save that, refresh. Now when I click the button, the first line of code is going to execute to get the content from the swim header inner HTML and store it in swim header content. And then the next thing that happens is we're going to alert what's in swim header content. Well, the value that's coming up is swim time converter, because that is what is stored in the inner HTML at that time. It's not until after I click OK that then this inner HTML, the third line, executes and we get that updated value. If we click the button again, it's going to go and get the inner HTML again. But this time, because we already updated the value, it's going to say the updated swim time converter right away. Now, our original example showed replacing the inner HTML of any element, and this slide just goes over those details. We have the same header with the same ID, and in this case, we're setting the value of the inner HTML. SwimHeader.innerHTML gets assigned the value of broken swim time converter. Of course, we have to have two quotation marks around here. This is what we're already doing in the code here, where we're taking that variable and taking the inner HTML of it and setting it to a string. And just to be more precise, we should put the semicolon on there because that's the end of the statement. But as you know, the browser can allow us to be sloppy and doesn't let us know if we forgot a semicolon. If I refresh the page, we can see that when I execute that code, when that third line is executed, that header is updated on the HTML page. We can replace the inner HTML of any element. Let's look at replacing the inner HTML of the body tag. Well, where is the body tag? Well, if I do Control F, I can search for body. And I can see that it's on line 6 and line 26. So what is between the opening body tag and the closing body tag? Well, it's lines 7 all the way through 25. It's everything that gets displayed on the page. What would happen if we actually replace the inner HTML of the body element? Well, first we see there's no ID here. So we need an ID in order for the browser to create that variable that we can access. So we say ID equals, and then we give it some value. I guess we could just call it body. That would be fine. So if I save that, now there's a new variable called body that we can access. But we haven't accessed it yet. Let's go ahead and access it. Let's take that body variable, and we want to change the innerHTML. So I'll do .innerHTML, and let's assign it to packed. I'll put a semicolon because that's the end of the statement. Now if I refresh the page and I click on the button, because we're calling the function hooked up to the button, we go ahead and we get the swim time converter alert, and then our whole page disappears. Basically, it took everything from here to the end and replaced it with that one word hacked. And so that's all we see on the page now.